Spooktober's here, and with every dusk, Eerie Instants unveils a new tale. 31 days, 31 stories. Hit subscribe and journey into the unknown with us.
I had always been a skeptic. Ghost stories, supernatural legends, they were just tales to me. But standing at the entrance of Dracula's castle, even I felt a shiver run down my spine. Tom, ever the history enthusiast, was practically vibrating with excitement next to me. "Can you believe we're actually here, Lauren? On Halloween night?" He grinned, his eyes scanning the tall stone spires against the setting sun. "I'm just here for the Instagram photos," I quipped, raising an eyebrow. But truthfully, the castle, with its Gothic architecture and the tales that surrounded it, had an undeniable allure. We followed the growing crowd, merging with a tour group led by a local guide. She had raven black hair, pale skin, and wore a dramatic red scarf, adding to the whole spooky aesthetic. "Welcome," she began, her voice a melodious mix of charm and mystery, "to the heart of Transylvania. Tonight is a special night, and you are in for an unforgettable experience." As we explored the castle's chambers, the guide shared tales of battles, betrayals, and of course, the legend of Count Dracula. "There's an old saying," she murmured, "that on Halloween night, if the chant of the old is heard, the Count returns." Tom leaned in, his interest evident. "Do people still believe in that legend?" She smiled cryptically. "Legends, Tom, often have a kernel of truth." The tour meandered, but Tom, drawn by his insatiable curiosity, led me to a secluded chamber away from the main group. Dust covered most of the artifacts, but what caught our attention was an old gramophone, a record still in place. Without much thought, Tom wound it up. The haunting melody of an ancient chant filled the room, the very chant the guide had spoken of. Probably a prop for tourists, I mused, though unease crept into my voice. We decided to rejoin the group, but as we made our way, the ambiance of the castle shifted. Where once there were lively murmurs of tourists, now there was silence. The setting sun cast long, creeping shadows along the corridors. My skepticism wavered, replaced by a growing sense of dread. Suddenly, the main door of the castle slammed shut with a resounding thud. The faint echo of footsteps and distant whispers reached our ears. A cold realization dawned upon us. We were not alone in the castle. Tom grabbed my hand, his grip firm. "We need to get back to the main hall." But as we turned a corner, a voice, rich and dripping with an old-world charm, echoed through the corridors. "Welcome, dear guests. The night is still young." I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just a Halloween trick for tourists. The legend was real, and we were trapped inside Dracula's castle. "We need to find a way out, Lauren," he whispered, casting a worried glance down the dimly lit corridor. The tall windows revealed a moonlit night, the pale glow seemingly seeping into the castle's stone walls. "I think we should head back to the main hall," I suggested, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "There might be an exit there." As we made our way, the castle seemed to come alive around us. Whispered conversations filled the air, footsteps echoed, and shadows danced on the walls. It was as if the castle itself was breathing, alive with a century of secrets. Tom stopped abruptly, pulling me behind a towering statue. Peeking around its base, I saw a figure approaching. Tall, with sharp features and an unmistakably predatory aura, Count Dracula. His silhouette was haunting, draped in an old-world cloak, its collar framing his pale face. His eyes, however, held an unnatural glow, revealing his insatiable hunger. "We can't let him see us," Tom murmured, pressing himself further into the shadow. Dracula paused in the middle of the hallway, his voice rich and dripping with charm. "Welcome, my dear guests. he said, spreading his arms theatrically. "You're just in time for the feast." A horrified scream tore through the air. At the end of the hallway, another tourist, a woman with golden locks, was cornered by two transformed beings. Their once human eyes now glinted with a red sheen. Within moments, the woman's fate was sealed. The transformation was swift, leaving no room for doubt. The bite of Dracula turned victims into predators. Tom tugged at my arm. "We need to move, now." We darted through a side door, finding ourselves in a lavish room adorned with gold and red. At its center stood a magnificent chandelier, its crystals shimmering in the dim light. "Look," Tom pointed to a grand staircase on the far end. "That might lead us to the tower. We could signal for help from there." I nodded, and we made our way quickly, but silently. Every shadow, every noise made my heart race. The castle seemed endless, its corridors winding and its rooms many. Just when I thought we'd reached the staircase unhindered, a voice echoed from behind. "Leaving so soon, my dear guests?" We turned. Dracula stood in the doorway, his presence commanding and overpowering. Tom stepped forward, determination in his eyes. "Stay away from us." Dracula laughed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You're in my domain now." In a desperate bid to protect me, Tom lunged at the Count. But Dracula, with his inhuman speed, swiftly dodged him. Tom lost his balance and staggered back. Dracula seized the opportunity, gripping Tom by the throat, his intent clear in his menacing gaze. I watched in horror, expecting the fateful bite. But before Dracula could sink his teeth in, he threw Tom aside, leaving him gasping on the floor, but unmarked. The Count's attention turned to me, his eyes hungry and unyielding. "The night is young," he whispered, approaching me with predatory grace. I backed away, the realization sinking in. The legend was not only real, but alive, and I was its next prey. I could feel the cold stone beneath my feet as I ascended the narrow, spiraling staircase leading to the tower. The thick walls muffled the distant cries and chaos from below, yet the grip of terror was unrelenting. Tom was right beside me, his breaths echoing my own rapid heartbeats. "We just need to make it to the top," Tom whispered, his voice wavering, betraying the fear we both felt. The dim torches that lined the walls cast eerie shadows, distorting our surroundings. We reached the tower's apex, revealing a panoramic view of the vast Transylvanian forest. The trees seemed to stretch endlessly, the canopy shrouded in an impenetrable darkness, despite the impending dawn. I noticed the zipline rig used for daytime tourist adventures, an escape route. My heart surged with a flicker of hope. "Tom, the zipline. We could use it to—" Before I could finish, a chilling gust of wind blew in, extinguishing the torches. The room plunged into darkness, and then the voice, rich, deep, dripping with age and malice, interrupted my thoughts. "Running won't change your fate," Dracula intoned. My skin prickled. Every instinct screamed danger. Yet, before either of us could react, Tom, in a desperate bid, lunged at the source of the voice. There was a scuffle, the sound of fabric tearing, a muffled cry, and then an agonizing silence. A blood-red moonlight filtered in, revealing the horror before me. Tom, on his knees, a figure shadowed behind him. I watched in paralyzed shock as Dracula released him. Tom slowly rose, his features changing, eyes darkening. My Tom was gone. Dracula approached me, his face almost curious. "Your heart beats fast, not from fear, but from acceptance," he mused. The weight of the night, the sorrow, the terror, it all bore down on me. The very air felt heavy. As he leaned in, I neither resisted nor accepted. I simply existed. When he pulled away, my senses were sharper, my perception clearer. The first light of dawn streaked the horizon, but it wasn't warm or welcoming. It was merely light. My human emotions seemed distant, memories of a past life. Tom and I turned to the vast expanse below, seeing it not as a beautiful landscape, but as a territory, a hunting ground. The urgency, the need to escape, it all felt trivial now. The legend had claimed us, and our eternity was just beginning. The two of us descended the tower, feeling the ancient stone and history with every step, but not as victims. We were the predators now. The forest below, the village in the distance, and the world beyond that. They were all blissfully unaware of the horror that had unfolded in the castle above. And as the sun fully rose, casting its golden rays on a new day, we ventured into the world, hungry and unyielding,